Hey guys, it's Matt. The wave or phase of destruction continues. One of my biggest frustrations, without a doubt, is how everything across the board is being destroyed. What was, I guess I end up talking about forms of entertainment more than anything else, but everything across the board is being destroyed. What somebody down your road thinks of a politician. Of course, we know what the political system is and what it always has been. I believe this thing we call not milk has always been here. Didn't hijack the reality, but we'll leave these discussions for another time. Now, I sample a lot of videos. This is where this is going. I just want to get a sense as to where the fake reality is taking the population. And people will hammer me with the comments, and I'm going to talk about what they're saying now about the destruction of the Oscars. And they'll hammer me that it's, oh, Matt, that's trivial. I mean, I have to use real world examples in demonstrating how it is the not milks. This is the time in history over maybe a 30-year period where everything across the board of the last century or of the old world or of the old reality is being destroyed intentionally. We say Star Wars made bad on purpose. The Oscars, it's so frustrating to sample 10 videos. You see them off to the side. Oscars, no way back. Oscars destroyed. And please don't leave me some sort of comment that I'm talking about trivial things. I'm talking about the nature of reality itself. How it is out to destroy the old world to replace it with the new, while installing stalled century at the same time. Elements that just never go away, so you think the old reality still exists. It is brilliant and a worthy adversary. So I'm going to use, because I've been sampling these videos today, off to the right, Oscars, doomed, no turning, there's no coming back for the Oscars, viewership down, and it's so frustrating. It's so frustrating to watch some of these videos because these idiots who make the videos, okay, they're not truth researchers, they're not conspiracy people, but I'm not asking them to study the 7-Eleven job application. I'm just asking them to see the obvious. It's so obvious that, say, the greatest performance of the Oscars is to, over a 25-year period, destroy itself. Of course it's out to destroy itself. And it's another great example of, even if it's real, it's fake. Because I guarantee you, the main members of this academy, I could sit down when I come on Quantum of Conscience show and say, why did you decide to destroy your own, what you're originally so proud of? You're one of the original academy members, or a daughter or granddaughter of an original academy member. Why did you decide to destroy it all on purpose? They wouldn't know what I'm talking. I don't think they would know what I'm talking about. Even if it's real, it's fake. They would think they're trying their best. There's no question. Its greatest performance. Now, okay, some of them may know exactly what I'm talking about. Okay, the creepiest of the creeps, but it's so obvious that it's trying to destroy itself, and it's very patient. It does this over a 20 or 25-year period, and this is not a video about the Oscars. Someone leave me a comment. Man, you're going back to a screen exercise. Oh my God, this is I talk about reality, and I need to go into the reality bucket and sample things as to, and just what's being presented this week is all this Oscar nonsense. So these idiots that make these videos, they give advice. Why does this keep happening? They give advice to the Oscars that, well, here's what you should do to recover, or they go back and say, well, this is what the Oscars used to do in the old days, and why can't they continue that? Why do they have to allow the stars to give these political statements and talk about Palestine and the plight of okay, they give advice like these people who like this academy, whatever it is, they have no idea what people want and what people don't want. I always go back to the sample, the focus group. You can bring in 10 people off the street, give them a 6-pack of beer and a pizza, and that 10 people will generally tell you what they 10 people from Philadelphia, what the other 4 million people in Philadelphia want to see. 8 of them would say, we're so tired of these actors giving their little political viewpoints and just accept the award and get off. They know exactly what people want. Therefore, the destruction is on purpose. But it's that way in everything. Disney and Star Wars, they know exactly what people want from the 3 sequels. They would know it within 10 minutes just from a focus group from 10 people. And these idiots that make these movie reviewers, and for a decade now, they've made videos about an open letter to Disney on how to improve Star Wars, like they have no idea what they're doing. What? I mean, my God, it's so frustrating. So just watching, again, the thing this week, the videos coming up that I sample, it's the Oscars. But you can see how it's worked. Whoever's in on it has worked for 25 years to destroy itself. And maybe somebody's, well, why would it do that, Matt? We'll talk about that on the back end. But it gets into the big theme that's running through these videos this week. And I don't sit there and watch hour after hour. I sample a lot of different videos, because none of these people that make these videos can even see 1% of what's going on in this reality. It's the big story now that runs through all the videos. It's like everybody's on a download. That Harvey Weinstein or whatever that creep. Again, even if it's real, it's fake. It's not. He probably did every disgusting thing that they say. But the big theme that's running through these videos now is he learned 15 years ago how to manipulate all the thousands of voters that vote on behalf of the Academy and how to get the results he wants by giving gifts and favors. And so that's the theme. But it's just one more thing when people watch it. It's just one more thing that's now been destroyed. This is the theme of the entire reality. I'm using the Oscars as an example. Matt, you're a little sensitive, but I am, because the comments will come. I have no tolerance for it anymore. It's the Oscars is just the current thing this week of one more thing out of how many thousands of things now that has been destroyed and ruined across the board. And the Harvey Weinstein story, even if it's real, it's fake. Everything he did to manipulate votes or all the perverted stuff, every bit of that could be real. But we see reality different than almost everybody else. If you take not a step back, if you go back and you get on your hot air balloon and go at 80,000 feet and look down, all the component parts, everything moving around. And if you get right down right next to Harvey Weinstein's big fat butt or whatever, it's all probably very real. But when we get in our hot air balloon, we can see how fake it all is. And we can apply this to reality itself across the board. Politics, the election of a president. We can see how fake it all is. Even if it's real, it's fake. So one video went back and actually presented the Will Smith to Chris Rock slap as this is the Oscars of many moments where it's lost control of its own presentation. Come on. Honestly, there should not be one person in this world that saw that as real. It blows my mind. It boggles my mind. That is not, even if it's real, it's fake. It was so contrived, so false. And there have been truth channels that have analyzed that as being real. I mean, you've got to be kidding me. It's the most fakest thing I've ever seen in my entire life. Let me just talk about it for. Let me cry on your shoulder. You cry on mine. That Will Smith is. Let me just talk about this for 2 or 3 minutes or whatever. Will Smith's a pretty, open hand or not, he's pretty strong, pretty big guy. You know, you saw him do Ali, right? He's not 4'11", and they just enhanced the video. It's pretty, muscles, and he whapped him pretty good. Now, Chris Rock, give me a break. This little weasel twerp wimp. He would have been so stunned. Remember? Okay, I'm interrupting myself. Remember when John Stossel, well, anybody over 50, John Stossel was interviewing wrestlers. Says, come on, man, and it's John Stossel 2020 or an ABC special report. And hey, I hear you, that could have been all fake and contrived too, but that seemed more legitimate. Things were much more legitimate in the old reality, in the old world. And maybe the wrestler just did it to gain favor with Vince McMahon. Maybe he, whatever charges would come against him, he's willing to take because it would lend credibility to professional wrestling. Of course, everybody knew it was fake back then, but maybe he could get some people thinking. So, boom! I mean, he smacked a couple times, I think, John Stossel. Boom, boom! And John Stossel was a little shook up. Now, if I go back and watch that video now, it wouldn't surprise me if it looks completely fake or the magenta hue has come into it. Things change in this reality. I don't know what I would see if I'm not going to bother to look at it. I remember watching it. Maybe reality's presentation in the old days was much more professional and better than it is now. Remember watching it as a, early high school or whenever it was, junior high, and it was, ooh, wow, it was a little, you could see it didn't clock him, but it was a real slap or two, and that was nothing. Will Smith, woo! Anyway, the point is, getting back to Chris Rock, he would have been so stunned, so shook up, and he just took it, gave his ridiculous, obnoxious smile. Give me a break. That little wuss. Oh gosh. I want to do, let's talk about celebrity boxing. Now, I'm not a celebrity, but what else am I supposed to call it? My dream was that creature, that Lawrence O'Donnell from MSNBC. Is he still lurking around the set of MSNBC trying to sniff Rachel Maddow's used towels? I mean, that celebrity boxing, but my ultimate, Chris Rock. Oh gosh, Chris Rock. If we could get in there, Matt, you want it? That's really you should practice what you preach. You're talking about pugilism, and haven't you learned anything from your own videos that taking things on that way is not the answer? You're right, it's not. But give me a break. I mean, he would have been so stunned. Anyway, what did I say? 2 minutes? Whatever I say, a minute or less, just go times 3 or 4. I'm sorry. So. It's now all these videos coming out why the Oscars are destroyed and the Harvey Weinstein scandal, and he learned. Now everybody knows that the best actor, it's people giving favors for votes, and all of this is by design. All of it. And if anybody is in on it with the Oscars, they're the 10 people, the real creeps that understand how this reality works. They're saying this is our greatest performance, and people are buying it. We ruined our own academy on purpose over a 25-year period, and it's our greatest performance. And it's not Vin Diesel and Triple X saying, and by the way, their performances were terrible. Everybody's buying this. Why anyway? So this is okay. Maybe I'm sorry for talking too long about the Oscars, but this is the thing of the week. Everything across the board in this reality has been destroyed. Our biggest frustration is why nobody can see this. I mean, I could just sit here for the remainder of my natural life and just keep the recording going and no other topics on this channel. The NBA has been destroyed. I know I tap into the same entertainment type buckets, but I'm just doing this on the fly. I watched some of this Oscar stuff. I said, I've got to make a video. I've got to get this off my chest. The NBA is just a bunch of bums. There's no defense being played. Major League Baseball still looks like baseball, but people see some of the salaries, 4, 5, 6, one Katani or whatever, $700 million, and deep down it just it does bother people how these salaries have gotten out of control, and the NHL has no star power, and the NFL, I said the NHL has no star power, it doesn't. The NFL. People complain about that and the ruination of college football, and there's no movies anymore, no good music. I know little indie bars or whatever, there's some good music, I know, but major things that just change music. I talk with Greg on the phone, and we just, we do a lot of nostalgia. We just sit back and just, sometimes a couple beers for me, or sometimes he'll make himself a margarita on the deck. And we'll sit back. Oh, sorry, Czar. We'll sit back and just say, I mean, it was back when I was in junior high school, 6th grade, junior high school, 9th, 10th grade. It was a great song would come on from Aerosmith or AC/DC or Led Zeppelin was before my time. It was a little The Who was before my time, but you weren't that. It was great when the great song would come on. But you weren't that excited about it because you knew just wait a week or two and there'd be another great song. I mean, every 2 weeks, basically for my entire, K through 12 through college, College had started to, to drop off, and MTV started to drop off. But through my grade school, it was just another great song was coming just a week or two or three away. I mean, we're pushing, I don't know, like 15 or 20 years between great songs. You know what I mean? Things that really move the needle, or move the bar. So everything across the board, including what your neighbors and your Aunt Ginny and your uncle feel about politics and our leadership, and now that's been tainted by the Eppensteiner-Steiner thing. And those of us that observe reality, get into our hot air balloon and go up to 80,000 feet and look down, we can see that it's the destruction of everything is across the board. And if you look at just politics, of course, the latest, the Eppensteiner-Steiner, that's just one more way to destroy, to remove trust. And the trust, or we used to joke 25 or 30 years ago that the approval rating of Congress was below an old rag, found in the road. I mean, we used to joke about that 30 years ago. So, what is it today? But people still somehow go out and vote in a presidential election. But it's not done yet. It will continue to destroy any semblance of any sort of hope that the people have in their, quote, elected politicians or elected leadership. But what frustrates me, and I'm sure it frustrates a lot of you, it's not a good time, Zara, sorry, is the fact that what are the chances? In my first book, there's a 50-page section almost, if you include if the world were real and what are the chances that this could happen. Once you get to 10 things in a row, you have to say fake world. And there's just hundreds and hundreds of examples of things that, what are the probabilities of this? What is the probability of that? And if you multiply it all together, the chances of this place being real is 1 in trillions. And I don't really believe in a 1 in a trillion chance. If it's a 1 in a trillion chance that this just happened, then it didn't just happen. Well, it may have happened, but it happened for a reason, or is meant to happen 100%, or this is a fake reality. So what are the chances to, my friend Tony, or your friend, or your Aunt Ginny, that everything across the board, that if you're over 40, that we believed in, that we found entertaining, that had merit, that had entertainment value, or everything has been destroyed across the board? What are the chances that could happen? And people just keep giving the same excuses over and over. It's a download. It really is. What are the chances that, and again, some things were already semi-ruined, but then the reality's taken it even closer to the absolute gutter, taken it lower than we ever thought possible, like, for example, politics. And, I mean, I don't know. I mean, I just don't, like, if I talk to my friend Tony, say, what are the chances? Everything across the board. I guess I'll just ask him next time. And he knows I'm a conspiracy person, and, there'll be some sort of excuse, or, well, Matt, I don't know what he'll say, but they always come forth with some rote excuse or something. And I'll say, well, wait a second, you're talking about the decline in belief in our quote elected leaders, but remember, I'm saying everything across the board is destroyed, or every individual franchise from movies, and compared to what it was. And how do you explain that? And I don't know what I have to ask him. I just have to, I'm not going to get in this big conspiracy debate with him, but because it goes nowhere. Of course, I never change his position. He never changes my position. But I just need to ask, or anybody that will talk to me about this, anybody in the normie world, but they'll come up with something. They'll come up with something. Well, Matt, I agree. It's a little, no, they won't give you an inch. I take that back. I was going to say, well, Matt, I agree. They might say, Matt, I agree. It's just really strange. Everything's not as good as I remember from the 80s and 90s, but it's not this grand conspiracy like you think. Okay, they won't give you an inch. They won't open the door even a crack. Matt, I agree everything. They won't use those words. The download won't allow it, because then they've cracked the door open an inch for you, and you can then go in that door and say, well, you agree everything's destroyed. And they deep down know never to open it, not even a centimeter. So, I don't know. Again, you can sit back, and I just thought it was somewhat interesting to note that If there are 10 people, they say the Academy is now thousands of people that vote on pictures and or best picture. That doesn't matter if they give little votes out to like little idiot movie reviewers. There's 10 huge ultimate creeps that, were tied in with what I call not milk, or, what truthers talk about, their secret societies or whatever, that have friends at the Fed that know how this world works. Maybe not, hey, Zara, maybe not spiritually. I don't like when she claws. You should see how destroyed this chair is. What was I saying? There's 10 people probably at the Academy that know a little bit about how this world works, whether they're sequential incarnations or not, or they know their role in this reality to hinder the real spiritual being. But the point is, they would sit back over their $8,000 bottle of cognac. People want to see Zara more than me, and they would say it was our greatest performance. We talked 25 years ago that we would do this. We would destroy it from within. And we would do it by scandals, like giving the best picture to La La Land and having them come. I mean, how fake can it get? Having them come up and accept the award, and then a minute later coming out. Do you remember this scandal? I just remembered because one of these idiot. I'm not going to say the name of the channel. One of these idiot video channels used that as an example of the endless mistakes and scandal that's happened over the years, and directors and producers came running out and said, no, that was a mistake. And Warren Beatty gave interviews later as to how he read the wrong card or the wrong thing. And, I guess 5 years ago or 7 years ago, it was all, let me pause and back up and interrupt myself. I'm much more now, even if it's real, it's fake. Which means these people that are acting on a download are just acting out what Not Milk wants and have no idea what they're doing. And they might not even be the same. They're probably not the same as we are. They could be NPCs. They could be just organic portals of this reality. But 7 years ago, I would say, 8 years ago, I would still see how fake the slap was, or that nobody's going to give the best picture to the wrong film. It's just not possible. There's never been an little award show in elementary school where they called the wrong name. I mean, ever. But nobody can see this except us. So, but I'm saying I'm a big believer now, and even if it's real, it's fake. That you could put Warren Beatty and those that, I think he's the one that I can remember to do that, but Hillary Clinton can't. You're going to say that every time? Yeah, as long as you're here. Until I turn old and gray. I'm very gray. I'm pretty old too, Matt. Sorry. Nobody can see it except us. And you put Warren Beatty on a lie detector test, and he'd say, "This is, even if it's real, it's fake." We know it's 100% fake. The whole reality is. He'd say, "No. Put me on the lie detector test." Puts his arm out. Ooh, did you know that? Did you make a mistake? Did you think La La Land should be Best Picture? Yes. No, he would pass. Maybe. Okay, I know there's a element of truth. You can't. It's all blacked out. You can't see her much anyway. There's an element of truth. Researchers here that believe. Can you see her? Oh, sorry, Matt. We don't need to see the cat that badly. Okay, some people want to see her. There's an element of truth. Researchers here that. Everybody's in on it. Everybody knows everything. Everything is as fake as just a complete production. Every politician knows it's an act. And there's still some of that goes on, but that's not how this reality works. It's more of even if it's real, it's fake, the download, the radio station. So, all the scandals, again, maybe 10 of them, some sort of weird incarnation. That said we pulled it off. We didn't, we talked about this 25 or 30 years ago, destroying it from within. And maybe they would say it took multiple generations. We had another one of our sequential incarnation grandchildren continue, and we've done it. And we've had ridiculous scandals, and everybody along the way has bought the scandal. And they did, and they even bought the slap. And well, Matt, why would it want to destroy? You can't. I don't truly understand this thing that we're up against, but it doesn't need money. it doesn't. Let's say the Academy goes under. What its status hasn't changed. It's greatest work. It's its greatest performance. It'll start a multi-billion-dollar corporation or another entertainment endeavor tomorrow. It doesn't care. It doesn't care one bit. I guess as long as it protects the phallus of Osiris in some way, they do some. That's the Academy that's members that are letting this thing slide into the cesspool. Don't you think Osiris is a little upset? If you're listening to the words right now coming out of my mouth, because of course that's what that. I'm not. Of course, I don't. I haven't gone to their eyes wide shut party. I don't know exactly, but it does seem pretty clear that this is the golden phallus of Osiris. I mean, you know how Egypt seems very important to these creeps, and do I know that for sure? Have I been to the eyes wide shut party? No, but I mean, you know, the whole legend about the damn, what is it? Was it Set that cut off the damn penis, pene, and then threw it in the river? And one legend was gulped up by a fish, and who kind of a fish would eat a pene? Like, anyway, so it was Isis, I guess. That's Bill Clinton's is. Don't ever say is without a big pause, even if you're giving a college term paper report or giving your doctoral thesis. Always pause. Remember, what it is. Pause. Is what did you just? I did this another. What did you just do? Oh, I'm giving my doctoral thesis. I know my entire grade, 90% of my grade is based on this. But you don't. You tell the teacher this. You never put the is next to the is. That's dropping an ISIS. We don't do that. Bill Clinton does that. ISIS put the damn sewed some sort of golden pene back on Osiris. Is it Horus or is it? But it's the eye of Horus. Whatever. It's all nonsense. Nonsense. It's important to them. It's not important to us, our type of entity. So maybe as they've destroyed the Oscars, I just wonder if they intend to apologize to Osiris, because he's not going to be very happy. That was his shining moment, to have his dick handed out to so many different people per night, and they don't know what it is. Matt, do the Oscars and the stars? I haven't been into Wise White Shut Party. I'm only guessing at all this, of course. Do they know what it is as they stroke it? No, they don't know. It's the phallus supposed to be the phallus of Osiris. They think it's and you know it's something like that because the story they give is so absurd. The story that there's 5 or 6 different legends and urban legends and lore as to how the Oscars got its name. And one of the most prominent ones, and definitely the most pathetic, is somebody that worked for the Oscars or the Academy back in the late 40s, a woman that became the treasurer or something, said that the award looked like her uncle Oscar. And then it stuck. Oh my God. Who could possibly? Well, the people believe that shit. And you can see the head is like a head of a penis. And its arms are they can't just be a giant dildo. It has to look something like a person, or they have to make it look good. Matt, why are you so big on the Oscars in this? Because this is the example that's leading the my thought process on the fake reality discussion. I wonder if they're apologizing right now, apologizing to Osiris. But it's their greatest performance. And other than a tiny little group of us, and I hope at least, well, I was going to say I hope they're aware that some of us can see through it, but let's just stick to ourselves. Don't like to invoke or let's just say summon any unnecessary attention. We'll just stick to ourselves. It is quite remarkable that the entire reality across the board in every single facet can be destroyed and is lesser than it once was. So Echo Chamberlain, I like the words he used, although he's a movie reviewer with a little UK snide, highbrow humor that can't see through reality, can't see one bit of what's really happening. It's, why can't he? He's a smart guy. I don't get it. And somebody stumbling upon this was like, well, why are you guys so sure you're seeing through reality? Maybe you're missing it too. Come on. It's so that's what our frustration's so big. You don't have to be smart, you don't have to be insightful or have any sort of real discernment to be able to see through this. It's so obvious at this point, and just the sheer probability. Every single facet of society and culture can't be. I'm sorry for not finishing my thought. Echo Chamberlain called it a lesser version of itself. And he's talking about the movie entertainment industry. Everything today is a lesser version of itself. The Oscars is a lesser version. It peaked in 1998 or 1999 per one of these videos I watched. That's still up now. Was basically when Matt Damon and Ben Affleck won for whatever they won for Good Will Hunting. That was basically the peak, along with very similar to that, the Titanic with Jack and Rose and Leonardo DiCaprio. That was basically the peak. 28 million to 35 or 40 million viewers, something like that, whatever. And then it's a slide ever since. So that is the worst version of itself. Everything is across the board. And I mean, go into other areas. I guess I'm watching these dumb videos about entertainment, so I'm not prepared to talk about it. But I mean, the manufacture of products. Everybody's complaining now about. Have you guys finally all seen the shitification? It was some public service announcement from Norway. I know it's going super viral. This video, public service announcement about make it shitty. No, make it shitty. And the guy says, they call me a shit maker. Yeah, I'll be brief. I know you've all seen it. And he messes with physical things, but then he says, once the internet came, I could mess with 1 million things a second, and I don't have to leave my house. I can make it shitty through the internet. Of course, that's basically what I was talking about in the the paper I read yesterday about the data centers, and I was on the phone with three back and forth phone calls trying to get the shit pumped out of my septic tank. I mean, just make it shitty. Everything is more complicated. Everything is more convoluted, and technology just piles on and makes it shitty. The internet. But it was some sort of public service announcement or PSA from Norway, which means in some way it's related to the government. I don't know how that's possible, but I guess sometimes I say to myself, not milk can't control everything. Sometimes something related to government, something of use may slip by from a not milk, limb or branch of a tree that gets out somehow. Maybe that's what this thing was. So at 32 minutes, guys, I got to make sure this is still recording. I kind of interrupted myself with a make it shitty. The worst version of itself. How about, products, manufacture of refrigerators and dishwashers. People have been complaining for 25 years or so that they're just junk, and they go in the landfill, and all these people that are so green, and they have to have solar panels, and then they don't say one bit about having to buy a new refrigerator every 15 years. When the worst version of itself, refrigerators, household appliances that don't last 10, 12, 15 years is pushing it. Somebody's yelling at me. I had to recently get rid of my Amana refrigerator just in the last 5 or 6 months, and it looked old when I moved in here in 2002. So that would be almost 24 years. I've been here a little less than 24 years. It looked old when I moved in. It approached 40 years. It would have been in the high 30s. The Amana refrigerator. I never even cleaned the air intakes or the pan. Nothing for almost 40 years. It was like a tank. And the dishwasher that was here, it looked old when I moved in. And that didn't last quite as long. It lasted about 15 years for me. So that would have been over 25 years old. Was it? I think that was Amana as well. The washing machine and dryer they're Kenmore. The dryer is got to be close to 40 years old. The washer, I think the last time I've told you guys about, I think it was the 90s. So it would be pushing 30, where the dryer is pushing 40. And this is impossible anymore to get anything like this. They say I've actually researched it a little bit because I know this thing's not going to last forever. They say the only washer to buy is called Speed Queen, because Speed Queen has to make industrial strength because they supply the coin-operated, the public laundromats, and they have to last. I mean, not everybody like Kramer dumped the cement, the mortar and the concrete. Not everybody's going to do that, and it won't. And I doubt it would last through that. But they have to hold up. And Speed Queen, you can get that industrial strength. So you can, if you look hard enough and you're willing to spend an extra whatever, You can get, it's worth it to get an extra 10 to 15 years out of your appliance over this throwaway junk. So sorry to be long-winded. That's the worst version of itself. And we could just throw a dart. Well, I guess okay, automobiles. This is a little bit different, but now the tech has invaded. The lowest of the low for automobiles, and I guys, I'm just shooting the shit at this point. I appreciate those that are sticking with me this long. The lowest of the low for American automobiles was probably I know because my mother bought a Ford Tempo in 84 or 85. And this was about the lowest of the low, or the peak of the absolute shit from the American automaker. And when my mother, 85, yeah, she gave it to me when it was 7 or 8 years old, maybe 7 years old. My senior year, right at the end of my senior year at Penn State, I needed to get a job, and I didn't have it the whole senior year, and just the last few months. Or right after I graduated, and it was leaking oil. it was such a piece of the Ford Tempo and Mercury Topaz was known as one of the worst cars of all time, as was the Ford Mustang at about that time. Ford was the worst through that weird period of the 80s, and my mom just happened to buy the worst. It leaked oil from the moment I had to carry the oil around. Cars have improved, but and it seems like they've bucked this trend, but they have to, because they're a key part of society. They have to for the Not Milk Society to go on the way the Not Milk wants it to go on, and it also has been overwhelmed by tech. So that's another thing that the Not Milk feather in its cap. But let me just go back to the Ford Tempo. I had to carry the oil around in the door of the car every time I filled up with gas. I added a little oil because somebody gave me a lecture. Matt, it leaks, whatever, but it will run. If you have nothing if it seizes up, just keep adding oil. They put it in my head, and I always did. I always made sure I stayed on top of it. So the other thing I was driving I remember it clearly, was 16, 17, or 18 degrees and pretty good winds. It was a cold Pennsylvania night in January. And I promise 1 minute or less. All of a sudden, it's not getting hot. The heater's ice cold. It's freezing out, and it's ice. Where's the heater? It should be hot by now. I've been driving for 8 minutes, and I look at the temperature gauge. It's pinned on hot, but it's ice cold. Well, anybody that knows about cars, the radiator just cracked, and all the Prestone antifreeze just dumped out on the highway. The car has no ability to create heat for some reason, but the engine's overheating. And then in the middle of Route 202, right about the Devon exit, the old Valley Forge Music Fair used to be there at the time, I believe, the Gateway Shopping Center, for those that know the area. Then it's just, I'm still driving. I'm a young person, and it's freezing. I got to get home. Well, I know I'm over 1 minute. And it just dies on the side of the road. Anyway, people, you got to tell us what happened, man. Once a car cools down, most times it was ice cold. Tried to start it 5, 6, 7 minutes later, it'll start up. Drove it coasting very slowly. Next exit, gas station. They did a little auto mechanic work. It'll start up if and overheating in most cases. It's an old, this is no chips in the car, no computer, an 84 or 85 Ford Tempo. So it worked out. I wasn't, frozen to death on the road or anything. But anyway, so cars seem to have bucked that trend, where right after that, U.S. automakers needed to improve to keep up with the Japanese, etc. And throughout the late 90s through the 2005, 2010, Hyundai, Kia, all made, very, very solid cars. But two things. One, the technology invaded it very, very quickly. Everything is chipped. Backup cameras, everything's electronics, electronic dash, everything that can go wrong. You can't work on your own car anymore. You have to take it back to the dealer. Even the old traditional mechanic for a brand new Toyota Camry, they try to make the engine where you need special tools that forces you back to the dealer. So an old-fashioned mechanic can't even work on a new car anymore. So, but they did. That proves, though, a lot of what we're saying, that the system here can, of course, create quality. So why is quality? They can create quality in cars. The transmissions lasted longer in the car. 2005, 2000, 2005, 10. Very solid. Very reliable. But the reason for that, in my opinion, is it's so important for this not milk society and culture, at least in the West or in the United States. The car is, to get to work, and it is absolutely essential for the not milk society and where the not milk wants to take society. So, there wasn't the collusion you might see in these cheap ass washer and dryer and dishwasher makers, where it's just junked after 8 to 10 years at the best, right? So the cars seem to have bucked the trend, but it was almost like it was needed, so it needed to be reliable, so people could carry out the wishes of the not milk, keep the corporations going, the Amazon delivery, whatever it may be. But also it was like a huge testing ground for the chips, computer controlled everything. Just to close this out, was looking at some of the headlines briefly at CNN, and of course, huge surge in oil prices. Of course, let's go. Remember that oil video I made a week ago? Come here, Czar. And to me, a couple of ridiculous things about what's going on between the United States and Iran is, well, if there's supposed to be a temporary government shutdown, or not a partial government shutdown, with a TSA and other Homeland Security isn't getting paid or something like that, but apparently most of them are still going to work at the airport. If you have a partial government shutdown, well, then I haven't spent 1 minute looking into it, but there's no point in looking into it because that's not what's really happening anyway. The research isn't going to tell you anything. But what they'll present to us, of course, is a shortage of funds, or something is not being funded because they need money. Of course, they never need money. I need to address comments recently. Comments are coming below my videos about this is being done for money. The not milk doesn't ever need money. I don't understand how these comments keep coming. In other words, though, if I have to talk about it like the way they present it to the public. If there's no money, then how are it's not a good time to fight a war. Okay. Well, Matt, you can't. National security doesn't go on hold just because people need to get paid. It's how hard this is for me to talk about when nothing is real. So if I start talking about this, but then people think that I'm talking about this, that if it's real, and it's not, but I need to present it as if it's real in order to make my point over here. You see how hard that is? You see how, and then I'm also walking on eggshells for different reasons, presenting the hobo code so the videos load. This is no picnic. This isn't easy, guys. So if there's no money to pay for national security, they could have pushed the war. We'll just take our chances that Iran won't be able to do anything for 6 to 8 weeks and get these people paid. I mean, come on. How do you talk about... okay. What was the other thing I wanted to mention? Oh, with Iran, Israel, and the United States in this war, or whatever it is, and then Iran's attacking oil infrastructure. So they say. I mean, again, to me, very little is happening in this regard. They're not destroying the world's oil infrastructure. It's all, it's a one world system. You know my thoughts on this. If anybody's new, it's a big test. This thing here is like the strangers from Dark City. If it's not trying to evaluate or examine the human, which has a soul or spirit that it doesn't have. Remember in Dark City, the strangers were so... Keith Sutherland said, these strangers are so interested in the human because of the human soul. It is something that they don't have. That's very similar. We have something that whatever this thing here, it doesn't have. Tony talked about the sequential as a spiritual being that was just less advanced than you are, but you've heard me say that a million times. So it constantly is looking to examine the human behavior or what we will do, or maybe even, some people would say just to better its digital twin modeling. But it also, for the general reality here, it tests and it uses its test data, now millions and millions of terabytes or however you measure the stuff, into its world simulation. And, Matt, spit it out. This whole thing with Iran might be nothing more than an oil spike test. There's only so much they can achieve maybe in their simulation or in their virtual environment. And they said, for us to really collect the data we need to do to the economy what we want to do at some point in the future, or whatever their sick plans are, we need to influence, quote, real supply and demand, and have oil go to $120, $140, or $150 a barrel. I don't even know where it is. It must be over $100 a barrel now. And have gas prices for super in California push $8. We need to do this for real. And we will need to collect the data and put that into our world simulation. Guys, as ridiculous as this sounds, and I'm just pulling this out of my what. I don't know if this is what they're doing. It just sniffs as to what they're doing, because it's not a real conflict. I mean, of course it's not the way it's being presented. And they do constantly want to examine the real human, and they do constantly want to collect more data. And, well, when is this? Matt, this seems like it's been going on for 34, our whole lifetime, collect data. And now their simulations with their AI are better, their digital world simulation. This can't go on forever. So they're very, very patient. This thing here is very patient. It easily could be it might be accepted when they have their little creepy meetings and when they talk to their HI holograms or whatever, that this is a 50-year period to collect data. It might be, well, Matt, they can't be that patient. Yes, they are. In my opinion, yes, they are. 1,000 years might not mean anything. 50-year, 100-year period to collect data. So basically, Matt, every then world conflict is just to collect data? Probably, or possibly, yes. It could be that simple. Every cooked up false gag here, every way to create emotion over here, every evergreen ship on its side in the Suez Canal is to collect data on how people will thumb it up or thumb it down, or with the comment. Yes, it could be that simple. It doesn't have to be, and I don't know for sure, but we're still in the test phase for this thing here, this not milk thing. And Matt, this is a little rudimentary. You're saying the entire conflict could simply be so they can collect data about the world economy related specifically to oil prices and how that affects millions of different things, because they have the ability to take the data from millions of different areas where they didn't 20 years ago. Yes, I guess I'll close with that. It could be that simple. So it's, even if it's real, here we go again, it's fake. If you go to get gas, it's very real. If you have an SUV, it's going to cost $100 to fill up. If you're in California, it'll cost $140 if you put super in. That's very real. I mean, it hits your wallet, but if it's real, it's fake. It's all created. It's crafted. And I'll tell you what, just to close, when I saw some headlines the other day, and I looked at my oil tank, and I have about half. And I'm thank goodness I got the oil delivery, 3 months ago, when I did, and I burned a lot of wood to keep the oil from kicking on. I had a lot of wood to keep it doesn't kick on much when I have the wood stove going. So I'll be able to, once the warm weather comes, it does use it for my hot water too, but I can keep it extremely low. It'll last another 4 months. But the poor people, and I say that in two different ways, the poor people, figuratively and literally, that need an oil fill up now, they're in a world of hurt. I don't know. It would be $800 probably to get an oil tank fill up from E, for whatever gallon my tank is. My record, I never even let it go that low. And all the years I've been here, I've seen over $600 to fill it up. And I'm, I use it for months and months and months and months. And just to close, we need to, I guess, do a few more predictions and talk about what the Not Milk's up to over the next 10 or 15 years in dedicated videos. But with the AI, how many industries are going to go under, or how many people can't find work, and that they've been talking about this living wage thing for a long time, and no doubt they'll. I was going to say they'll have to do it, but they want to do it. They want half the country, the U.S., sitting around not being able to find work on playing games and video games, and there'll be a living wage, whatever if the U.S. dollar still exists in the same way, they'll get like assistance, of course, $45,000, $50,000 for a family, but then you will have to do exactly what it says to continue to get those. They'll present as benefits. Another C the V. In order to keep the money, you need to go rent the movie Action Jacksonation. In order to get the money, you need. And as time goes on, and it's very patient. This will take decades and decades. And I thank God I'm 55. It will, for those more and more millions will just not be able to find a job. The AI will then 30 years from now, the robots will take over everything. The last bastion, or the we talked about the new bourgeoisie, or the new aristocracy of North America, will be plumbers, electricians, people that work on heating and air conditioning systems, people that have to use their hands in a skilled way. But is it conceivable that in 20 or 30 years they'll have a bot that shows up for basic plumbing? Sure, but those people have 20 to 30 years before their jobs are taken. Coders, I don't have to go through this with you. I'll just close with this. I'll say the funniest one. It's not the right word, but when we first started, I've talked about this recently, so I'll just close with this. Talked about the AI, started talking about it 4 years ago or so on this channel, and it first came with the creating the graphics and the faces and the 6-fingered hands, and you could make pictures from the AI in DALL-E. Remember that in Mid-Journey? It was the first taste many of us got to it, and we had no idea how it would advance the AI in so many different areas, and they still can't. Like Sam Altman, the alternative man, he might turn out to be an AI, right? I say that every time. I laugh about it every time. Wouldn't it be appropriate if Sam Altman, the alternative man, turns out to be an AI himself and not real? We just have to just make videos of just doing nothing other than making fun of it. Somebody said in the comment, I'm a sketch artist, and 4 years ago, I'm not concerned about my job. I guess Matt, you said that recently. You're going to say that every month in a video? Probably. He's a sketch artist and not worried that now you can get any sort of art in 1 second for free. Anyway, we'll leave it there, guys. Oh, Zara knows it's over. Come back. I have Gouda in the other room. I did take him to the vet for his steroid shot. He has he's older, some issues with his GI and his inflammation. It could be a cat cancer or whatever, but he's real old. We're not going to give him any oral chemo or anything like that. It's just the doctor said with the steroid shots and we'll take down the inflammation. He could be good for 3 months. You could get 6 months. You could get a year with him. His brother died almost 3 or 4 years ago now, and he's pushing 14, I think. So hopefully we'll just keep giving him a once a month steroid shot. Does seem to be helping a little bit, but anyway. Thanks, guys. I will see you soon.